What is going on, guys? Welcome to a Saturday NFL showdown between the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos. If you are new to these videos or this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Otherwise, just give this video a like. It's greatly appreciated. Helps go a long way in getting our content out. So let's get into the slate. Should be, fairly chalky up top. I kind of thinking, but when we get into the salaries here, we'll talk about that. But the Bills come in here as a 6-point favorite. I think Denver, they have a game where they had no quarterback. Drew Lock has been okay. The receiving options are not great for Denver. Patrick is really touchdown dependent. Hamler has kind of come alive, but overall, it's not an offense that is, that gets you excited about anything. So let's get into the slate. All right, let's start on the Buffalo side because I think this is where you're going to see the most ownership. Josh Allen will be by far the most popular play on the entire slate, and for good reason. 12,400. He hasn't had, in 2 of the last 3 games, he's had sub 20-point games, but just his upside and floor is really unfadable for me in cash, at least. It's not like there's a lot of other great Buffalo pieces that you're going to get around the offense that could do really well without Josh Allen involved. So it's not like you're getting 2 really good receivers that could be on the end of Allen, but you don't need Allen. I think that's more of a case for like Pittsburgh, but not really the case here for the Bills. So Josh Allen is a lock for me. Diggs, former Viking here. We know how good he is, and we just know that it's Josh Allen's favorite target. And offensively, you love to see coordinators that do this, that like intentionally make sure he is getting the ball. They're moving him around, short, long. They know he has good yards after catch. So I really like Diggs as well. 11.4 is expensive for a receiver, but I do think he just has enough of an implied floor and ceiling that the 11.4 price tag is definitely worth it. Now, Cole Beasley, on the other hand, I wasn't sold on him against Pittsburgh. At 7.2 or 7.6, he probably was okay for 9 points. Like that was an okay production for his cost. But if you were trying to get the 30-point games out of him, now you're getting him at 9,200. And I still think his median projection is between, 7 and 10, just with short catches. So I don't know that he's worth it at 9,200. Then we get into the roulette wheel here of the Buffalo backfield. Zach Moss was out carried the game before the Pittsburgh game. I think Singletary had like his career, 18 carries and 11 carries. So then he was priced up more expensive than Moss. Then he has 7 carries this game, and now is priced down to 5,000. And Zach Moss saw 13 carries, didn't have a catch. Didn't have a touchdown, so didn't do very well. So my take between the 2 running backs is I still think Singletary has more value through the passing game, regardless of what the carries look like, because I'm not really wanting to predict the carries here. So I think I prefer Singletary if I'm going to pick one of them, just due to that upside. But I think you could certainly just not play either and go to somebody like Gabriel Davis, who has definitely been involved in the offense. Now, touchdown in the last 3 games, that's not easy to repeat, right? But 8 targets, 3, 4, they know they can go to him deep. And the touchdown he caught against Pittsburgh, he was like wide open. But I think at 6,200, I think he might feel more comfortable than going with, say, Moss or Singletary. I think there's like more uncertainty with the running backs. Dawson Knox is fine. I love Tyler Bass here because the kicker on the other side of the game is an elevated practice squad player that kicked in the XFL with McManus out. So after that, for Buffalo, like the only even like viable player is Isaiah McKenzie. And I think it's a dart even on him. At 1,400, I think, if he catches a ball or 2, you're really happy. Obviously, if he does what he did in week 13 and catch a touchdown, then you're dancing. But I think it's thin, but I think he's the best value or the best available player under 2,000 for Buffalo. But if you have the salary to get up to 4,200 Tyler Bass, I much prefer that. All right, the Denver side is a little bit messier. Drew Lock, obviously is probably going to be your main target for Denver, just because I think he is like the common denominator to any of their success. Like, if you're going to try to pick who scores a touchdown, I mean, Tim Patrick obviously has been scoring touchdowns, and is a good, he reminds you a little bit like Mike Evans. Like, they don't throw to him a ton throughout the whole game, and then when they get down to the red zone, they're going to make sure they target him on jump balls, fades, things like that. And you've seen that the last 2 weeks. So people got a really good deal at him on 4,600 on that KC slate. But I think he's definitely viable at 7,600. Just know that he is pretty touchdown dependent. Then you have guys like Noah Fant, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler is at 5,400. You can even get down here into like Hamilton at 800. But I think for me, I may be paying up for the top 3 players on the slate just because of I think Drew Lock just has the highest floor and combined ceiling without me having to pick between Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, and these other options. Now, like, I bet you like 2 of these guys exceed their value and price tag. Like, if Patrick scores or Fant scores, maybe Jeudy has, a couple long catches, but his ankle has been pretty bad. So I think these guys could definitely like combine and outscore Lock. It's just you having to pick the right ones to do that. So I think, in the running game, Melvin Gordon and Lindsey are both considered questionable. Both are expected to play. But if we get some late news today that one of them is out, I think that definitely puts the other certainly in play. And especially if Gordon is out and Lindsey is in, Lindsey is by far the best value and probably the best play on the entire slate. If it's the other way, I think Gordon is definitely more in play than he was before, and could be a pivot from Drew Lock. Because once you start locking in Allen and Diggs, your salary is going to be gone pretty quickly unless you punt at captain. And we had a question about punting at captain in our Discord channel. And I think my rule of thumb is this: if there's a complete misprice and you still see an implied floor with a player that's in the mid-range or super cheap, I think that's totally fine in cash too. And I'm talking mostly cash and optimal here. I think it's fine to go cheaper at captain. But if you're just going to go a kicker and I can still get the same 4 studs or skill players that I really want, and you're just using a kicker to upgrade like your last play, then I feel like it's a little bit thin, because as I do think kickers have implied floors, I just think that you may lose some upside. So both defenses are in play. I don't want to get into too much of the KJ Hamler versus Jeudy versus Fant. I think it's pretty obvious that long term they really like Jeudy and Hamler. Fant has really been like kind of faded out. Just and part of that is just Drew Lock's inefficiencies, right? At the beginning of the year, he had 2 massive games, and then hasn't had over double digits. Had double digits one other time the rest of the year. So I don't think it's somebody that you lock. But I guess at 5,600 in a pretty good matchup, he's more viable than when he was 7,600, which he was normally on these showdown slates. Jerry Jeudy at 5,800. His ankle, it sounds like, is still bothering him. He's just not getting the volume and targets or touches at all. So he's probably a pass for me. If you want to take Russolino, looks like his name is, the backup kicker who is in for McManus, go ahead. I think the notes here say that, what did it say? He converted 9 out of 10 field goal tries for XFL in 2020. So, I mean, he's kicking in Denver, so it's going to give him some length, but I don't know that it's somebody that you might need him, but you could go there. Philip Lindsay is fine if they're both in. You just know he's getting touches at 2,400. You just don't. I mean, he has 1 touchdown all year. He's not really catching the ball a lot through the air, And then I think the last guy I would kind of consider down here is Deshaun Hamilton. He's only 800. If he catches a ball or two, he is getting mixed in every once in a while, but there's really no consistency to it. And when he is getting his target. So, and when everybody's healthy, that makes it even worse. So, you do have Fant, Hamler, and Patrick all healthy, and you have Fant who can run in the slot. That makes it harder for a guy like Hamilton to get on the field. So just to recap, 3-2-1 favorite cash plays are going to be Allen, Diggs, and Locke, which again feels like super obvious, but in this type of slate, at 3,300 left per player was using Allen. You could definitely use Diggs up there. I think you can still get. I probably would prefer McKenzie over Hamilton if I'm going down here. And then you could still look at, assuming you go cheap, a little bit cheaper at captain, you can still get Bass and then maybe get up to one of these Singletary, Hamler, Fant, those options. And I think that's a fine, or you go down to Russolino and then you maybe upgrade McKenzie to, you might even be able to do this. If you go Russolino, you have to go a little bit cheaper at captain, and then you can get Lindsay or Vanette, who's kind of touchdown dependent and did okay last game, but not somebody that I'd clearly target over Noah Fant. So thanks again for listening. If you are new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you are a returning listener, make sure you hit that like button and throw us a comment. Thanks a lot.